You're listening to Badlands Radio. And now, once again, your host, Captain Jack.
So much resistance from behind. It's time to stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday night. You're listening to Badlands Radio. I am your host, as usual, Captain Jack, broadcasting from the Black Heart of Texas. And tonight, we've got Clif from Half Past Human joining us in the Black Night here. We're going to be talking a little bit about the past data from the last time he was on. And some of the new data that has been compiled, during that time of since we last talked. Always a great time talking with Clif. Let me bring him in now. Clif, welcome back to Badlands, buddy.
Thank you very much, Jack. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing just great.
Good. You know, I was listening to the archive of our last show together, and I realized something. That every time, at least a week or two before your appearance on my program, I always have a psychic encounter. The first time was with the truck that ran the red light that I saw. The second time was with the tornado that almost tried to kill me. But this time I had not had anything like that, but a prediction that China would be the first country to use genetic engineering to make the world's first dragon.
Weird. Yeah, that would be great, actually. That's kind of cool.
I don't know why. It came to me earlier today. I know it's completely crazy, but I thought, you know what? I have a feeling that China's going to be the first country to come out with a genetically engineered dragon with a mix of like a snake and a lizard and a bat. And I don't know why it hit me, but then I thought, I think it's because Clif's coming. So if they actually do come out with a dragon in some form or fashion,
then we'll know why.
They will know why.
Weird that psychic channel opened up. So really, probably the reason is that you didn't have one this time is because your producer and I had been conspiring against you or with you or for you, however you want to think about it, in regards to this smoking business.
Indeed.
It's really related to the mind. It has nothing to do with the smoking at all.
Oh.
And it's not really out and out voodoo. It's more along the lines of hoodoo, and it does work.
Yes.
I smoked for 17 years, and I was able to quit using this method. I never looked back. It was never an issue. You can, in the process of it, decide if you want to go and use something like nicotine gums or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Uh-huh.
But as long as you practice this method, you'll know within 30 days if it'll work for you, because you'll have demonstrable evidence that it is indeed working, and then you'll keep it up, or you'll stop. And I don't know anybody that's ever stopped once they've done it for 30 days.
Really?
They've all gone on to successfully stop smoking.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, she wouldn't give me a whole lot of details. She told me that she had to get number 2 pencils, index cards, and rubber bands. And I said, okay, so you're going to tell me that every time I reach for a cigarette, you're going to put a number 2 pencil through my hand, shoot me with a rubber band, and stick an index card on me that says stop smoking.
No. Actually, the mechanism is a lot easier than that.
Oh, good.
Things where the idea is that you don't care how much you smoke. What you care about is shifting it from an unconscious, body-driven reaction in reality to a conscious mind awareness kind of thing. And in the process of doing that, vast quantities of the precursors, the pressures, you become aware of them, and it's kind of this analytical self-knowledge sort of a deal, and the smoking just falls away.
Interesting.
It's quite fascinating, actually, especially if you have a bent for statistics. But here's what you do. It's kind of nice if your number 2 pencil is about the same size as your index card, just because it makes it in a nice, neat package. And the idea is the rubber band is for fastening the pencil and the index cards to the current pack of cigarettes. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, then every time you smoke, you simply want to note the time and the date and the day, so, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And then you want to write why you're smoking. What was the trigger for that? First cup of coffee in the morning, or, whatever. The wife slapped you upside the head, deservedly so or undeservedly, it doesn't matter. Just note what it was the cursor.
Yes.
The trigger for this.
Yes.
And you're going to have to write small because the idea is that you're going to do this every single time you smoke.
Oh, my.
And, you can also put down, at the end of having that cigarette, you can put down there a little mark of some kind to indicate whether or not that particular cigarette met the criteria for that particular trigger. In other words, was this a satisfying cigarette for that particular cup of coffee?
Yes.
Really, I found it doesn't matter about putting down that bit afterward.
Yes.
And just do this. And do it for 30 days, and you will have probably reduced your smoking by half and be within 2 months of simply stopping.
All right.
And the idea basically is that it becomes a conscious process, and you get out of the ingrained mental loop that is actually part of the eye-hand-body response. The way in which tobacco is a native plant, as a shamanistic plant is used, is not at all addictive.
Yes.
And then we know that the powers that be, in fact, have put 17 or 18 other addictive chemicals in there.
Yes.
There's 2 of them that have a particularly nasty effect in that they have a tendency to increase the ability of the brain to put energy into an eye-brain-hand response. That's actually why people that smoke a lot are very good, usually with musicians, anything requiring the finger dexterity, this sort of thing.
Artists.
Correct.
Yes.
The pilots even, oddly enough, because of all the gears and knobs and fiddly bits they have to play with.
Yes.
Okay, and it's the same part of the brain that uses this. What we're going to do with this process is simply noting these elements is to shift that whole smoking element away from that part of your brain, and it'll simply fade over the course, usually between 21 and 27 days, but you say 30 days just for surety.
Yes. It's like rewiring the brain, in a sense, when it comes to that particular action.
Correct. And just smoke as normal. Just simply note what's going on at the time you're smoking in the immediate environment. I know guys who just got into the point of writing whole, voluminous. They use 2 or 3 cards for each cigarette. What's going on with them?
Yes.
You needn't be that analytical. A few words, whatever it takes to get the idea across.
Yes.
And then save the cards.
Yeah, like sex. Yeah. Well, now you came up with this method, yes?
The method with the 3x5 cards is a method of my own devising because I tried to quit several times beforehand. I'd smoked for 17 years. I was horribly addicted to the nicotine, especially in regards to the nature of the work I used to do out in the wild, so to speak. I was always doing, a basic resource kind of work out harvesting wood or something where it's cold, and the cigarette became part of the warmth in the winter, and it was quite the terrible habit.
Yes.
And actually was very addicted to the nicotine. But I realized that the nature of addiction is that it is actually a mental process that to a certain extent is controllable, and this wasn't just an easy trick to do it.
Interesting. I'm going to try it. I will try it. As a matter of fact, I'll even I'll have to talk with the webmaster and see if this is possible, but maybe I can even catalog my index cards. Like whenever I fill one up, I'll hand it over to him, and he can put it up on the website so people can see my progress.
Okay. That's very generous of you. Don't expect it to be instant, of course. It's going to take, 3 to 4 months, and then eventually just kind of sloughs off. You say, oh, geez, I only smoked 2 or 3 cigarettes yesterday. I guess I'll just stop.
That's interesting. I will try that, actually. I spoke to a few people that I know, as a matter of fact, also smokers, and I kind of told them about this. I said, yeah, my producer is conspiring with Clif, and he's going to lay something on me to help me quit smoking. And they're like, oh, I got to listen. I got to listen tonight.
Well, it does work, and as I say, if you can go the full 30 days and you don't slip up, and if you forget, it's like, okay, then when you think, oh, I was in that meeting, I should have written this down,
yes.
You can make a note of it. But you want to stay as current as possible on all of it. And you'll start to notice, I think, within 7 days, a market change.
I am definitely going to try that. Absolutely, absolutely. So how long has it been since you've had a cigarette last?
20-plus years. I'd have to actually sit down and think about it.
Wow.
Maybe 30.
Wow. Very, very nice. I quit for a year once, and I don't know why the hell I even started smoking, but I did. And I know that it is just a bad habit no matter what. So I'm going to give it a try. I know that Celine got me the index cards. She got me the pencils. She got me the rubber bands. So starting tomorrow, I will do it so that next time we talk, I can at least tell you, you know what, I'm smoke-free, or you know what, Clif.
Let's not put any parameters on it. See, that's the whole thing. Is the issue is you don't want to pressure it, because you don't want to add any pressure to a process that's pressure-driven.
Yes.
So you want to break out of that whole mindset. And it truly is a shift in the mental attitude that causes all this to occur.
Yes, it'll definitely be interesting. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to give that a go, actually. All right, let's see here. Now, I know that there's a few people here tonight that is listening for the first time that wanted to know more about this web bot technology. I got several emails today of big fans of the Princeton eggs, and they're just catching on to the web bot technology, and they're incredibly interested in it. At the beginning of the program, I try to explain it in my own way. You tell us how this process came along and what it does.
Well, basically what I'm doing is to aggregate large amounts of changes in language from regular old places on the internet, all different kinds of forum, what you would think of as not chat rooms, but message boards, that kind of a deal. I'm going to turn this off. Anyway, in 1994, I was doing some work for a couple of firms where they had large amounts of data that they were storing, and it dawned on me that basically they were storing the same words over and over repeatedly, sometimes millions of times, and it really didn't seem that efficient. So I came up with this thing called the language model, which was a change in the way complexity works. We shifted the complexity to the SQL Server programmers and really made the SQL Server engine work to provide the joins and unions and retrieve the data.
Yes.
And basically it was just a different way of looking at words, and one thing led to another, and I started thinking about words in a different way, especially once the internet really took off in the late 80s, early 90s, and I started seeing how language was playing out in these various forums. And it got to an idea where I was thinking, well, and about that time we were also starting to get all the hype about Greenspan is, the uber god of finance.
Yes.
The stock market's starting to roll up and all this sort of thing. This is pre-97, actually, 95 or 96. I had this idea that the thing to do was to examine, basically, it was a target, a goal, was to examine how language was expressing itself relative to that particular subject, which was money in all of its flavors, stock market, etc.
Sure.
One thing led to another. I wrote some software that basically associates the emotionality of words with, if you will, prescient leaks from everyone. The concept is that everybody's psychic, whether they admit it to themselves or not, whether they're aware of it at any given instant or not, and that it alters that psychicness and its prescient visions about the near future, alter the choice of words that these individuals make in their everyday conversations as they're expressed on the internet. So basically you've got, you're working a technical job, you've got 20,000 words you really use in any given week because you're always talking about the same kind of subject.
Yes.
But occasionally you'll step outside of that 20,000 words and use something from the other 100,000 words you may know internally and express, basically the same thought about a common subject. You just choose to use a different set of words for some reason. And it's that some reason that fascinated me, because I thought it was the, if you will, the bleeding edge of psychic impression.
Yes.
It was why you would choose, this word over that word for ordinary conversation about baking bread or growing corn or something, tuning engines, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, and it turns out that was indeed the case, that if you followed the shift in the language from these ordinary conversations over time and collected the words that were here this week that didn't show last week, and also highlight those words that had dropped off from last week to this week, that kind